Bam! MC is in the house. What's up, folks? My name is Justin Garcia, also known as Master Chim, and welcome to the Warrior Stream. I'm here every Wednesday at noon Eastern Standard Time, taking a topic, deep diving, having a good time while doing it, and got a good topic today. Today I was a little fired up, annoyed. I should say annoyed, but I'll make it sound better, and I'll say fired up. But before we get into today, let's just cover the housekeeping. If you're not getting my email every morning, you should be. I sent out an email today and I ran out of time. I couldn't send the email to announce this. So I hope people show up. Oh, we got a couple people showing up already. What we got there? Aaron, what's up, Don? I was thinking about you earlier because I didn't have time to send the fucking second email, but I did send the first one. Yarn Saxa, good to see you. Glad you made it. So the big thing with I should finish the links, the description, like get the email, look at the description. I got a bunch of links. I don't give a fuck. So uh, today's topic that I sent out for for the regular email was about men ghosting men, right? And the idea was this idea of ghosting. I looked it up. It's not like I just have this information, stored in my head somewhere. But having done a little bit of research, which basically means I asked ChatGPT, um, the word, the phrase, the term, the context of ghosting used, to talk about cutting somebody off, communication wise, was born in the online dating space. And it was done by men and women, so men and women did it, but disproportionately by women. And the logic of it is, and it was the sentiment was shared, by other people, but I think logically it makes sense that yeah, women just have more options than the men do, by and large, and so it's easy, especially in that type of format, where you could just delete somebody or block somebody or whatever. It just makes sense that yeah, women would do it more than men, and it's just so easy to do. The friction's so low, there's not a problem by doing it. So at some point though, what started in the online dating space and through those apps, and this is pure speculation, by the way, like every once in a while I'll get a message like that's like fact checking things that, like I was saying, sort of observationally, like, get a fucking life. If you're sending me fucking messages about the accurate historicity of the things you're putting out there, like, get the fuck over yourself. Anyway, so I speculate that it makes sense that if on a dating app it's just easy to eliminate, block, delete somebody, it would only make sense that that type of behavior would be displayed, en masse at a higher scale in social media. And that's exactly what you see. There's all these little subtle, nuanced ways to sort of remove somebody from your life. You could now, what is it? You could snooze somebody. You could unfollow, but stay friends with them. You could block somebody. You could just unfriend them. I guess depending on the platform, there's all these little things. But understand that this is like a mechanism in the culture that a social media platform is trying to create, whereby you're only going to interact with the people that incentivize you interacting on the platform more, right? So that's what they're trying to do. But the idea of, yeah, I don't want to be connected to this person anymore. I don't want to talk to this person anymore, and just severing communication is becoming more and more normalized. A concept that I've talked about for a long fucking time. I don't fucking know. This has been part of my take on humanity for as long as I can remember it. But the idea is there are so many things that are going to occur that are absolutely inevitable. Inevitable. When you hear people saying, "Oh, I want to heal the world," well, can we define terms? Because these fucking abstract dream states that people, float in throughout their lives nowadays, it's something that society accommodates. But there's going to be a cost for this at some point. The ball's got to bounce. I don't want to get too pessimistic, but the idea of it is there are things that are absolutely inevitable. You could ask yourself, well, how come nobody ever ghosted anybody before? The early 2000s with those dating apps and stuff. And not that it's never happened, but like, why wasn't this a thing? And people want to say, oh, well, we were more moral. We were more, connected and empathetic and tribal. Like, okay, you could say that. What I'm going to say is it cost too much to do that to somebody back then. That's all it was. People, when you scale numbers up, will always choose the path of least resistance. The reason men didn't ghost men back in the day is because how the fuck did you get away with that? It wasn't a thing. There was plenty of guys in my neighborhood growing up, or it's like, oh man, I hope I've never seen this fucking guy. I'll tell you a story where somebody was trying to ghost me in real life and how it didn't work, right? So I'm not going to say his name. I really want to say his name, but there's really no value added aside from satisfying my own fucking contempt for this individual by saying his name, so I won't say his name. Anyway, this fucking asshole, as we say in the Bronx, this fucking hand job, that might get it fucked up on YouTube. Whatever. This guy used to train at another school. The other school shut down. He asked if he could train at my school. I was friends with the guy who owned the other school. I called the other guy and I said, listen, this is your guy. I know your school closed. He wants to train at my spot. But if you don't give him the green light, he's not training at my spot. My friend was like, no, my fucking school shut down. Let him train there so he can keep training. My friend was trying to get his school back up and running, had the location issue. And so the guy trained with me. Well, apparently I trained differently than the guy, my buddy at the other school. Like I'm trying to make this as much of a Pai Mei experience as I can. Well, not everybody shows up to train with fucking Pai Mei. I'm not calling myself Pai Mei. What I am saying, though, is that comfort is not a consideration in my school. So the guy hard training and he would go through it. And there was no personal judgment or anything. Like, you got the heat put on you and you had to sort it out and you would be supported as you did so. But asking to lower the heat of training was not a thing. That was not a consideration. So this particular guy trained with me for some time, and I think by and large got some pretty good training. Back in that time, I was still pretty competitive, and I was still training, hard regularly. And I don't mean hard training, what hard training will look like for me now. I mean hard training like I was going to compete in something. And those are two different levels of intensity. And I would, like he was a brown belt at the time, I think. I was already a black belt, but like I was at my peak competitive form, and he was still on the way up. I'm trying to give him some credit here. Because when I trained with him, I used to beat the shit out of him. Now, I'm not trying to hurt him. I'm just saying, if you were training hard and we were getting ready for something, like this wasn't about making you feel good at the end of the session. So true to form, he wound up not training at my school anymore. He found another location to train, and eventually found his way back to my friend's school. My friend reopened it. So this guy and I never had a problem. We had some rough training. He got the shit end of the stick where that was concerned, but that was just training. Like there's guys coming up that I would train with that I would get the shit beaten out of me by. Like that's just how it is. If you guys train, you understand it. So it's not really a thing. So anyway, that's a long fucking setup for this one fucking instance. This is maybe a year after I've seen this guy. Now, again, I never had an issue with this guy. It was always productive and positive. He trained at my school. At some point, he wanted to train someplace else. I had no issue with it because I didn't consider he wasn't my student to begin with. So I wasn't worried about that. I didn't have an opinion on it. I'm walking down the block in the Bronx, and who is down the block from me, walking towards me? This fucking guy. What does he do? He doesn't even have the fucking wherewithal, the self awareness to understand that if he could see my face, I could see his face. So he looks up and he sees me and he goes, "Oh, fuck." Like, it was as obvious as could be. This is a fucking block away. And I'm like, this fucking motherfucker. Like, what would have happened? I would have went up and said, "Hey, how you doing?" He'd have been like, "Hey, what's up there? How's things? All right, yeah, take it easy." Like, it would have been that. This fucking guy couldn't contain himself. So he comes up and he's like, "Hey, hey, coach, how you doing?" I said, "What the fuck does it matter? Take it easy." And I just kept walking. So now for me, here's a guy, right? So the whole point of this guy would love to have ghosted me, right? But this is, I don't know, 2006, 2007. That wasn't as popular as it was today, but certainly unavoidable if we're on the same fucking city block. So there was a consequence when people tended to operate in the same circles and almost exclusively in the real world, not in this virtual world. So you have this instance now where guys just think it's an acceptable thing to do. Now, I'm not talking about the people who who spam you that you don't know, people that you're not connected to. Like, everybody gets emails. Like, they always get my fucking email address, these motherfuckers, and it's like, "Hey, did you know that your page is about to collapse?" Or whatever. And it's like, "What? My page is about to collapse?" Fuck, kick it open, and it's like, "Yeah, and this new software." It's like, "Oh, you motherfuckers, you got me, right? Good copywriting." But what the fuck are they doing in my inbox? They got my email somehow. I don't have to respond to these people. I have a guy that literally, like, right, I think yesterday was the last email. I had purchased a service. I'd done like this course with him a couple of years back, and he is revving up for a new course, a new cohort in the course that he does, and he's trying to basically activate older clients. And so he has his assistant, might be him under a new email, but whatever. He has his assistant message, "Hey, I remember you took so and so's course. The new one's coming up. Just want to know." Like, I understand I don't know this person, right? So I don't owe this fucking person anything. And even the guy that sent the course, it was like a virtual thing. It wasn't like he and I hung out on fucking Zoom or something like that. So I see this message. I'm busy. Like, I got shit to do. Delete. Next day, I get the message. Hey, this is so and so from this guy's course again. Wonder if you had a chance to see the email I sent yesterday. Now, I understand this is copywriting, right? This is a sequence. This is a sequence to sort of get somebody to engage, to get them into the funnel, to reactivate them. Like, there's a whole tactical component to this. I get that. But what I'm saying is, I'm under no obligation in terms of the context of who I consider myself to be as a man. It is not unethical, weak, cowardly, or any other derogatory label to not reply to this person because I don't fucking know you. Delete. They just sent another one yesterday. "Hey, is there a reason why you're not getting back to us?" It's like, you motherfucker. Now, mind you, I unsubscribed. I did the whole fucking, no, I didn't report it as spam. This is the irony, right? Because I actually like the guy and I don't want to fuck up his email deliverability by putting spam. I do email marketing. I know that can fuck you up. So I just unsubscribed, but I'm still getting emails. It's like, all right, now you're pushing it. But anyway, the idea of it is I'm under no obligation to connect to that person. So now you have these people in the real world who deal with other men in the real world who at some point they find the validation to just sever any communication and ties. And I do have a list. I don't know. Yeah, I'll go over it, but I didn't have time to put it up or anything. But there are reasons for that, and none of them are good. Right? None of them are good. Because the thing is, this is years ago. I don't know. It's over 10 years ago at this point, I think. I created the alliance codes. And when I made the alliance codes, there was a part of it that said, you want to build the bridge. And in the context of the course, it was when it's time, respect the expiration date was one of the things that you had to do in an alliance. Sometimes the arc that you're on expires. You could renew another arc, or the arc could be in the form of a bridge at a lesser level of intensity. If I played a sport with somebody, right? So if I saw my high school football teammate, when we were playing football, we were brothers, seeing each other every day. If I run into him 15 years later at a mall, it's like you have a moment, but we're not obligated to, hey, we need to be at each other's houses in the next couple of days and get back into that. Like, we understand, shit happens. So when the arc of an alliance ends, you want to maintain some semblance of a connection. And there's a reason, a functional, practical reason for this. Number one, you've invested time in this alliance. You want to keep alliances on the ready for the potential to increase an arc, of synergy with them. You want to be able to say, well, if I'm on good terms with this person, if anything ever comes about that could benefit them, benefit me mutually, we'll get some synergy from it. We could reconnect. You want to keep that connection. The other reason you want to keep the connection is, to avoid the worst case scenario, where I also talk about this in the alliance codes. You don't want to populate the other side of the battlefield. Just because, it's time for this arc of alliance to come to an end, sort of like the season on a TV show, right? It's like the season ends and next season it might be something different. But just because it ends doesn't mean you want to make this person the exact opposite of an ally because you've mishandled this transition, right? And a lot of men, that's one of the big reasons they do it. I should go over the list, but whatever. So let me go over the list, right? So I have 5 reasons why they do it. I had to sit down and sort of figure this out in passing. I was doing it while I was having phone conversations and I was on my fucking treadmill, right, with my standing desk and everything. So I didn't develop this much, but I did a little bit of a brainstorm session to come up with 5 reasons, or to come up with a list of reasons. 5 is why I wound up. Usually I wind up with like 15 reasons, and then I start just sort of weeding out the weak ones, maybe combining others. But we got 5 today, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Before I get into it, I see a bunch of comments here. What's going on? I got Jamie. What's up, my man? Jamie up in Canada. Good to see you. Johnny Groove in the house. What's up, brother, man? Jamie says this is a little while ago, but we're not really connected to most of these online people anyway, right? It's all fraudulent. Like the internet is not real. It is all fraudulent. I don't know, what is it called? What is it called? Dead internet theory? That concept that at some point the ability to mimic interaction and engagement online is going to become so not only ubiquitous, but so undistinguishable. Is it indistinguishable? I think it's indistinguishable from artificially generated content that you could, for the most part, say whoever I'm engaging right now is not a real person and probably be right. And at that point, you can't trust anything on the internet anymore. There's this whole concept behind this thing, but that's really what it is. Like, these people are not real people, I'll use that as an example, right? So Jamie and Aaron, like, we've never met each other, but I know you guys ran into one of my coaching students up in Canada once, and he told me he ran into you guys. And it's one of these small world things, right? I think one of you guys was wearing one of the Pressure Project shirts or something. So it's like, that's an establishment of reality, because we've connected in the real world that way, through my buddy up in Canada. But there's just a difference between that type of real world experience and just knowing somebody by their profile picture and what they write in a chat. There's just a level of authenticity that needs to be assessed and acknowledged, right? My man Niles, what's up, brother, man? Good to see you. Star Kid, what's going on? Star Kid, not Stark kid, right? Or Stark id, which would have other implications if you wanted to nerd out on. But I'm going to go with Stark id. To me, ghosting is just leaving someone high and dry like you never had a problem. Like you said, never had a problem with and usually got along with and are considered close friends and up and ignore them forever. Yeah, for the most part, that's exactly what it is. We agree. Alan Odinson, what's up, brother, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. Fake and gay. That's right. I'm pretty sure whenever you wrote that comment, it was absolutely appropriate and well timed. Aaron says that was really cool. Oh, running into my buddy. Yeah. Yeah. Like, talk about a small world. We have a session, he and I guess a couple of days after that. And he's like, do you know? And Aaron, and I'm like, yeah, Aaron and Jamie, like, yeah, they, they're watching my podcast and stuff. They're interacting. He's like, yeah, I read it. I'm like, what? Like, how the fuck does that happen? Pretty fucking cool, though. Pretty cool. But all right, I should probably get into this list. I have a list. There's 5 of them. All right, so here's the. I don't have the graphic. It feels like cheap if I'm not doing a graphic. So I'll talk about them, but I'll just talk about them like in regular talk. I promise I'm focused on this. It's been a hell of a day, a great day, high energy, a lot of shit going on, but everything's awesome. All right, so here are the reasons why men ghost other men. And there had to be a better way to put that because that sounds a little gay, right? So, I think you guys understand what I mean by the like. I've been talking for fucking 20 minutes. You should understand what I mean. But anyway, I'm getting crazy. So number 1, they've lost consequence tolerance. You got to understand that most men today, they don't have to pay the piper the way that men once used to. They're trained, men today, they're trained, incentivized even, to avoid consequences, right? Comfort's good, consequence bad, responsibility bad. I had a meeting with my inner circle group, right, which is one of my mastermind groups for entrepreneurs. And I had created a GPT for them, right? So this thing allows them to put in this whole one of these workshops that I do for entrepreneurs is I build like a world and an identity for their business so that they could stay aligned in like the content they're generating and they're not just like distracted by bright shiny objects and stuff. So anyway, that's a whole workshop that I do. And for the people who did that workshop, I created this GPT so they could actually use the output of that workshop easily with ChatGPT to brainstorm, to build the foundation for content, etc. And at some point, I had to go on this little tangent this morning and just explain or reiterate, because these guys are on board, but just to reiterate, because it was relevant at the time, there is no set it and forget it. There is no you press a button and then the money shows up. It's like, ChatGPT, make a post on the internet that everybody sends me money after reading it. It's like send, and then the money goes up in the account. That's not a thing. It's easy for people to understand that. The harder thing for a lot of people to accept is the second part that I shared with my guys, which is if there was a button that did that, you should never want to press it. Because as soon as you press a button and then the output already appears and everything just took the resistance or the friction or the strength or the effort it took to press a button, you become no stronger than somebody who presses buttons. The journey of creating that output is what makes a man. We need that process. Well, today's society is not that. And again, this is inevitable. Men are going to continue to get weak. You know the story of The Matrix, right? The movies and everything. I like the movies. Pretty entertaining. I am convinced that if you actually looked at reality that wound up like the Matrix, at some point, the people get into the pods themselves. People love to sort of conceptualize, yeah, but no, if that happened, they had to probably round everybody up, or they just bred people, which eventually wound up happening. Well, I think the first batch of humans that went in those pods stepped in because of what they were promised. Because as existentially, they've completely separated themselves from the natural experience. To them, they think everything is their brain and their consciousness. That's what they think everything's supposed to be. You step into the pod, you get everything you want. Understand that as we move toward that, obviously, maybe not specifically that, but as we move in that direction, it's going to be voluntary. That's what people need to understand. This is not something that is avoidable, right? So people are always going to choose the path of least resistance. Right now, as technology improves, as the efficiency of a lot of the apps and the internet and everything that we're doing, even just machines and automation, etc., like people are going to become less of themselves. They're going to become less capable. They're going to become less ambitious, less creative. You think it's a coincidence that you look at the entertainment world and everything's a reimagining, a sequel, a prequel, a remake, a reboot, an alternative universe? Like people are running out of fucking ideas. And without creativity, it winds up becoming a sort of lazy process of iteration, where each iteration does not correct anything, does not improve anything. It's iteration purely for the purpose of multiplication. You're just creating more. You're not even creating different at a certain point. You're just creating another of the thing. And that's not creativity, that's reproducing, right? That's all it is. It's copying, right? So anyway, right now, a lot of men, they don't have that grit, and they have the story. And man, this story, grit would be in the title of the story that they're going to tell you about themselves. Yeah, man, fucking I had it rough. I had to share a room with my sibling growing up. It's like you had a room? You had a sibling? Like you knew your parents? It's like there's all of these just weak storytelling assets that men collect, through life. And they're ready to whip up a terrible story whenever they need to. And you'll see that. Why? Because they were trained to. Why? Because society will train you to do that, right? So they've lost their ability to tolerate consequences. One reason why men will ghost other men. Another reason. 2 on Tom. What's up, brother man? Good to see you. 2 on Tom's in the house. So, second reason why men will ghost other men, they don't have an exit structure. Sometimes men just don't know how to handle that. It feels awkward for them. If you're saying, this, I don't have time to do this, this is something that's not going to happen, it requires you having some clarity on what your mission's supposed to be. It requires you having some standards that you can compare this connection to. So the investment you're making in this alliance needs to have some context. If you're going to say, I have to change this. Well, a lot of men don't understand these things. Maybe they don't have the identity to contrast it to. Maybe they just don't understand what it's supposed to be like. And again, the alternative is easier. You just don't connect. You just don't answer their calls. You just don't answer their emails. You just pretend like they don't exist anymore. It's easier that way, right? So it really doesn't make, it's not a mystery, I should say, why these men do this. You don't have to relate to it, agree with it. Certainly not. I don't, right? But a man doesn't call you back, like, well, how could he just ghost you? Because he can. Because he can. And the first two reasons, number one, he's not used to consequence and he's not going to get any consequence for not doing this. So he's going to be conflict averse. And number two, he doesn't even have a process to do it even if he wanted to do it. Right? So it seems like this overwhelming, thing for him. So those are two. The third reason, I only have five. Third, they confuse. This is one that is a reoccurring, thing in a lot of the stuff that I talk about. They confuse peace with strength. Sometimes, guys will avoid their obligations, their connections. In this case, their alliances, and they'll have a story that says, well, I just don't have time for that anymore. I have this thing. They have like this almost nobility, right? Or at least a maturity that they want to convey. Well, yeah, you know what? I just don't have time to hang out with him anymore. It's like, yeah, but have you fucking told him that? Because I ran into the guy and he said he keeps emailing and calling you. You don't answer him. It's like, yeah, I'm just really busy. It's like, shut the fuck up. Hey, man, this guy told me he's been calling you for 2 weeks and you haven't gone back to him. Oh, I've just been really busy. You know what fucking text is, right? Like you just get your phone and you say, hey, busy, call you whenever. Or I'll never call you again. Fucking say something. No, I've just been really busy. It's like, well, you might even believe that. It's bullshit whether you believe it or not. But even if you do believe it, just understand that you're saying you don't have your life together to the point where you could send somebody a fucking text, an email, have a 30-second conversation. Even if, you're a bitch and you don't want to talk to somebody on the phone and hear that tone or whatever. Send a message or something. Don't do more than you're obligated to do, but you got to do something. You can't just fucking disappear. All right, so they confuse peace with strength. They just have this narrative saying, no, the reason I don't get back to him is because I'm doing all this great stuff. Shut the fuck up. Nobody fucking believes that. Maybe you do, but nobody else fucking believes that nonsense. And if you're running one of those formulas right now, let me help you by letting you know everybody thinks you're a piece of shit when you do shit like that, right? So next reason, they treat friction like a personal threat. Any conflict at all, any discomfort at all, they interpret as some sort of existential threat. If I call him back and tell him that, I don't want to work there anymore, or I don't want to plan the team anymore, or, he might try to get me. He might try to sabotage me. And it's like, I hate to keep this, like, this is the advice I'm giving everybody. I'm a pretty high paid coach, right? My advice, I promise you, is not shut the fuck up, but it is appropriate here, right? Because I'm talking to the royal everybody, the royal you, right? Not one individual. But when you start talking like, I don't want there to be a problem because you know how he gets it. Shut the fuck up. If you're connected to somebody, there's a way to handle things. And the way you handle them is a reflection on you, just as much, if not more, as the reflection on the person you are managing this alliance with. It's like, did you tell him that you didn't want to work with them anymore? No, he's an asshole. It's like, no. This has nothing to do with him. It has to do with you. Who are you? Are you the type of guy that doesn't handle your obligations by having a conversation? And if you're not, like, that's shit your daddy was supposed to teach you. Like, let me tell you, over the years, I've had so many students leave. Like, that's the obvious laboratory proof that I have of this in the real world. And it's so funny how, the joke is, it's like, yeah, but MC, you're just so hard to talk to. Every student that's ever come to me and said, yeah, I think I'm going to go to another school for whatever the reason is, my reply has always been, If you want to go there, you should absolutely go there. We're good. If you ever want to come by and train, you're more than welcome. Best of luck. Why? Because I don't have enough fucks to give a fuck about what this guy's doing. Years ago, I made a meme and I said, haters are people that just don't got enough going on. And this is an application of that. It's very much connected to that idea. It's like if you give a fuck when people separate themselves from your life, then you ain't got enough going on. I mean, not that you can't give a fuck, but it's like if it's sabotaging your ability to follow your own mission, then it's like you need to get your shit fucking straight. Yeah, but this guy betrayed me. This guy left. This guy, he was supposed to do this. Yeah, but turns out he ain't gonna. All right. So moving along, I mean, if the guy owes you money, maybe you got to fucking knock on his door. But this whole, I never thought that this guy would do this to me. Okay, but now you thought of it, right? Turns out it's factual. So can we keep it moving? It's a very simple way to look at this. It's not always easy, right? It's a lot of fucking animosity sometimes, and that sort of anger, that anger, like it'll fuel you. But that, I've said before, anger is a fuel that don't burn clean. There's a cost to running on anger. It just ain't worth it. You build up the structures, and you don't have to worry about any of that. I've had guys before that. I ran a mastermind for school owners. I had one guy in an instance where he was really upset that one of his longtime people left him. And like I can relate. I've had a lot of longtime people leave my school too. And I remember speaking to him and holding him accountable to a standard that admittedly prior to that I had to work through myself. But I had asked him, I said, how many students do you have? And at the time he had like 150 students, something like that. And I said, if you had 300 students, do you think this would matter as much? And he said, well, the guy's been with me a long time. It's like, okay, 500 students. It's like, well, it would matter less because I was like, all right, what are you making right now, money-wise? He would tell me, this is 150 students. If you had 3 times the amount of students, you might not make 3 times the amount of money. You might make 2 times the amount of money. You might make 5 times the amount of money. Shit changes when you scale. But if you were making 5 times the amount of money, do you think you would be as invested in it? Well, no. Well, why not? Because you can do all the things that you can't do now. You can help your family in ways that you can't help them now. Like a lot of guys, they're connected to people because they're trying to create an output. But if that output was more effectively generated, they rely less on the other people, which means that the people that they're connected to are there because of the merits of being connected to them, not because of the reliability on them, the reliance rather on them. Oh yeah, he's one of my favorite guys. Why? Because if he left, I'd be fucked. Like a lot of people wind up in those situations. Make yourself as strong as you want, and then all the alliances are voluntary. You're connected to people because you like them, because you appreciate the synergy that occurs between the two of you, but you're not beholden to them in that way, right? So it's just a different way to look at it. All right. There's a couple of comments. Aaron says, no is a full sentence. Goddamn right it is. Star Kid says, I had a friend since 9th grade, was making a few past few months minority jokes, phobic in every way, and I said we had done, and others who let it slide, known boundaries abused, unacceptable. Okay, I'm not sure entirely of the context, but I support you. Jamie says, and that one should be, I'm pretty sure you were talking about shut the fuck up. Maybe that would be a good one. Little button on your soundboard, right? Aaron says, I have no more fucks to give. My fucks have run dry. That's great. 2 on Tom writes, some guys are so autistic like the White Dragon and really are wrapped up 100% of his work. But when he has time, he is 100%. And I agree. It's funny. 2 on Tom and I have a good friend that is, he's busy. Right? He's busy. He's doing some shit in the world. And the I remember one time I'm at Two on Tom's house. You probably remember this, Two on Tom. It probably it reminded you. I mean, I think so. But we were trying to call him, and he wasn't answering. And I remembered the Jim Rohn quote: "Wherever you are, be there." And this particular friend of ours is such a high level um, performer, in life. He's a high performing individual. You don't get there if you don't know how to be present when you're at where you're at. So maybe where he is, he's not going to just respond to a random text in there. I mean, you're lucky if you catch him, transitioning from one thing to the next. But absolutely right. Some guys are just, they're obsessed with what they're doing, and it's a great thing. It's a great thing because I don't know if I would call that autistic, but maybe focused, like I would go for that, but fuck it. When I go with autistic, I'm riding with you. So we'll figure it out. All right. Jamie says, sometimes I go into work mode and my higher faculty shut down. But even then I can make eye contact and give it a nod of acknowledgement. Absolutely. Absolutely. And listen, sometimes shit happens. I was, I'll be honest, I was getting ready for the show today and I started designing, the list and everything. And then my wife called me and she said the dog ran into the woods. So it's like, God damn it. I run outside and one of my sons is in the woods, screaming for the dog to come. And I go out and I'm like, oh, I'm screaming the dog's name, right? I got a bigger voice than my son, but he's in there and like he's in. It's all fine. It's snowed and everything. He's fucked up, He's in a fucked up situation. He's fine, but he's in there, and I'm screaming for the dog in other directions. At some point, look, the dog's right next to me. So, point is, I was super focused on this, but fucking something happened to the dog. My wife's calling me. Got to handle that, and I'm back here and I'm ready to rock. So, we need to be able to handle things that we need to handle. And I talk about, in my mastermind group, I have something called the Mind Switch Protocol, and it allows you to sort of transition from one task in a day to the next through this sort of cognitive, processing ritual that allows you to sort of power down one task, prepare yourself, reconnect with who you are in the big context, and then power up the next task. All of this, cognitively, and just to maximize your presence, in whatever task that you're doing. And I believe in it. I wrote the thing. I've been doing it for a long time, but that's the thing that allows me to go, write this, do the mastermind call. I'm creating this webinar for this other workshop that I'm doing. Go and get the dog, at a point. And so I'm present wherever I'm at. I just run out of time sometimes, right? So that's the fucking issue. All right, so where are we at? They treat friction as a personal threat. That was number 4. All right, so the last one, I think this has some overlap with the other one, but the last reason why men are now ghosting other men, which is very, very gay, they've normalized comfort as their default, right? So earlier I was talking about how, men have lost their ability to withstand consequence. And so they'll avoid discomfort because they don't know how much of it they can take. It's almost like if you're in the gym and you put on too much weight, you're like, I can't fucking lift that. So you take things off. And sometimes a task like severing connection with somebody, or I would say, what do you have? The offboarding, right? Or the building a bridge, I'll say, in the alliance, sometimes that represents too much weight on the bar for them. And so they'll avoid it. But here I'm saying that comfort is their default, in that they'll ask themselves, not what can I bear? They'll ask themselves separately, well, which option's more comfortable for me? And yeah, it's easy to just not talk to somebody than it is to talk to them. It's easy to delete the email than to respond to it. It's easier to delete the text than to reply to the text. It's easier to block somebody's information than it is to save somebody's information. Like there's all these examples, and this number 5 reason speaks to the man that's just committed himself to a life of leisure, right, and comfort, right, which is very, very gay. So not something to do. So the 5 reasons I have here about why men are ghosting men now. Number 1, they've lost their tolerance for consequence. Number 2, they don't have an exit structure or an exit process. They don't know how to do it. Number 3, they confuse peace with strength. They avoid something, but they mislabel it as, well, this actually makes me more mature. And I have so many things going on. I'm beyond, such trivialities as replying to a friend's text, etc. Number 4, they treat friction as a personal threat. The tension that presents itself from having a potentially uncomfortable conversation, they see as something that threatens them existentially. And they're going to be averse to exposing themselves to those threats. And that's the way they perceive it. And then the 5th reason, they've normalized comfort as their default. It's not about what's the right thing. It's not about what have I obligated myself to. It's not about what's the strong thing. It's about, well, which option is more comfortable, right? So those are the reasons why men are ghosting men now. All right. So I think we're going to end it there. Holy shit, we made it happen. I didn't do any of the posting of the banners and stuff, so my bad on that. But I knew what I wanted to talk about, and we got it done. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. This was an action-packed, Did I say backed? Packed. An action-packed show today. I had a good time, and hope you guys did too. All right, so let's end it there. Remember, get my emails. Check out all my shit down in the description. There's all links and stuff there. Or don't. I don't give a fuck. But I'll be here next week. So I appreciate you guys for hanging out. And as always, brothers and sisters, pressure to power.